I really love learning more about the ancient tabernacle and temple and the ways that, despite all the differences, there are similarities to our modern day experience. Now, there's two ways I want to look at, and one of them I'll talk about in this video. So when you have the ancient tabernacle, it can be broken up into three distinct parts. So out here, you would have the outer courtyard, and then you move into through the first veil, and you have the holy place, and then the Holy of Holies. Now, in my other video, I talked about how creation really mirrors the ancient tabernacle and the building of it. And I believe it starts here and it moves outward. And at the end of the creation story on the sixth day is when mankind is placed. And in our modern day temples, it talks about Adam and Eve being welcomed into the holy place here, into the Garden of Eden. And as they go through their story, they are driven out into the Lone of Jury world. Now, this spot in the ancient tabernacle is when you'd come in through this way. And this gate, among other things, I believe represents birth. It's entering into mortality, into your tabernacle. Now, so they would enter here just as they were born or entered into the Lone and Jury world. And this is when the ancient high priest would go through the different ordinances and rituals back up until they could go through the veil into the Holy of Holies, which would be God's presence again. So this follows that same shape that I've been talking about, the chiasm. So if we straighten it out, this is when we'll see the similarity between the ancient tabernacle and our modern day temple. So there are some temples that have 5 different rooms. You can have as little as 2. So this shows the similarity between the one that has 5 instruction rooms, or 4 instruction rooms, and then 1 being the Holy of Holies, or the celestial room as we call it. So you start down here and you progress up through the rooms as you go through the endowment session. So you start here with the creation room, which we talked about, mimicking the Holy of Holies, God's place and God's creations, and everything being pronounced as good, and setting up this whole system. So you learn about the creation story, and then you're welcomed into the garden room. And this is where you follow along the story of Adam and Eve, and you learn about them partaking of the fruit and make covenants, and then come into the world. And this represents the world room. This is the furthest away that we talk about, and this is the pivotal point where we learn certain things. The priesthood is presented to us, and we are robed in order for us to start progressing back to Heavenly Father's and Heavenly Mother's presence. This is when we're welcomed into the terrestrial room, and we learn more and make more covenants, and then through the veil, we get to the celestial room. So when you take the chiasm of the ancient tabernacle, included in the creation story, and then all the rituals going up, and you straighten it out and flatten it, you can see it exactly mirrors the progression that we make in modern day temples.